Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Radio Entrepreneurs, and we're streaming more stories than ever before on entrepreneurs and leadership and how people are working successfully in this economy and dealing with change. That's all I do for a living as a managing partner and founding CEO of MAGE LLC, a management consulting firm. These are exciting times. Our next guest, Sankeetha Selvarajah. I hope I got that right. Managing partner at Selvarajah Law. Whew, I had to say it a little slow. I hope you don't mind.
I don't. It's great. You're doing good.
So tell us about the firm and what you're doing.
So I am a corporate transactional attorney. So what we do is basically contracts and negotiation. It's what I think is one of the sexiest jobs around, but others may differ. Or what we do is we advise small, mid-sized companies from incorporation all the way to exit. So mergers and acquisitions. So we actually are outside general counsel for these firms for the lifeline of their entire existence.
So you deal a lot with companies and how they deal with Black Lives Matter, and I think that's a very interesting topic. Can I just leave that sort of open-ended for you and let you sort of tell us what you've been thinking and working on in these areas? Because it is a topic that almost every company I know is discussing.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because I'm a POC, person of color, CEO, and attorney herself. And it's interesting because the predominance of the companies that I counsel have either Caucasian or non-POC CEOs. And it's interesting because the conversations are like, what do I do? Am I doing something wrong? How can I be better? So they're genuine questions on how to lead their company in this new landscape and how to be a better, more socially conscious company during that time. It's been gratifying to see, it's been gratifying to assist, and it's been really humbling to be part of that partner in this journey forward on this, right? Where we can have those real conversations and say, hey, this is how some of your employees and some of your clients and some of your customers may be viewing your policies. Absolutely right in that most people and most CEOs are concerned about that, of being less tone deaf and more socially progressive in how they approach this as well.
So if I, and I am, if I were a leader of an organization and I wanted to be responsible to social change and my internal and external communities of public view, client view, and internally, are there certain steps you think I need to address in terms of working that process in a healthy manner?
You know, the real answer, business is based off of interpersonal relationships. And part of that at core, hate to sound like a therapist, is open and honest communication, right? It's the basis of most relationships. So that doesn't change here in the sense that having that open dialogue between your staff, your employees, and talking to them about what they have faced and having a very, very transparent environment for them to speak plainly about that. And then for you to understand the steps that can go and actually help them forward. Also, and taking that into account about readjusting your own employee handbooks, new policies that could be implemented, and new things of nature that could be used as a deterrent as well. But the idea is not to quell anybody's voice or to make anyone feel like they couldn't speak or they couldn't talk about their issues before, but to actually find how their current situation could be utilized together in a solution going forward. So having a solutions-oriented mindset is probably first. Two, having an open mind is definitely necessary as well to begin that process of finding the information, learning from it, and then actually implementing it into policies that could be beneficial for everyone.
Well, also, let's bring up the topic of Starbucks because historically, Starbucks has been a responsible organization. And like a lot of companies, I'll give them a sort of pass to start. I think a lot of companies are feeling their way through this, and as they felt their way through this, they realized that maybe they made a misstep and had to sort of realign themselves along the way. I don't think there was malice intended. They're just learning as they're going.
I agree, actually. And from a corporate legal side of that, I actually agree with their first step where they wanted to protect their staff, actually, because understand Starbucks is a nationwide global brand. And so if they pass a policy, it is supposed to be implemented at every Starbucks across the nation. And now, during different areas of this country, there are different sects and there's different viewpoints on what Black Lives Matter. And some areas may be more volatile than others. So when they probably didn't, if I had to hazard a guess, they really did it to protect their staff from actually putting forth some stance. So as incite, someone that could be against Black Lives Matter and come in and attack their staff. So it was a protectionary measure at first. Now, the economic backlash of them probably caused them to, retrace their steps and come out with that. But, their first step was to protect their staff, actually. So you have to strike this fine balance of how are we protecting our staff, but how are we also being socially conscious of what the environment is looking like. So yeah, it was a great lesson, definitely.
Tough because Starbucks,
Tough.
I think of Starbucks really not just as an American brand, you're right, a global brand. And if you're looking at North America, you're looking at, original inhabitants to North America and not wanting to wear signs. You're looking at the French Canadians. You're looking at the people of the northern parts of Canada. And I think they were sort of saying, let's leave it all out of the stores and let's just be Starbucks. But this movement, I think you give credit to the movement, it's just become so big and so large and affected so many people that they had to acknowledge it at some level, that people were emotionally connected with it. So they sort of broke with tradition. I'm sure there's other groups who say, well, now that they're allowing them to do this, maybe they can do other things as well. But I understand. I mean, this is an unusual time in our history.
It's a great time. I actually think it's a great time for change. It's a great time for catalysts such as this to really move things forward, and to be fair, it took a pandemic. It took people to be unemployed. It took people to be more or have more time to access this knowledge that was out there and then to do something about it.
I think social movements are not always neat and clean. They can be messy. No. And it does remind me a lot of, they say the most tumultuous year of the last century was 1968. 2 assassinations, National Guards on the universities, Vietnam War, which was a war with China, communism and nuclear bomb. There was just so much upheaval and social unrest in the United States. But ultimately change resulted from all those things that were going on. And it's approximately 50 years later. And I think it's time that, again, the establishment needs to open itself up to making more change. And, I'm looking forward to where we're headed. I think this is very good. But for all those entrepreneurs who are looking at making change and leaders of organizations, how would they find you if they were looking for you in your law firm?
So I'm on Instagram at Selva Bizlaw, SELVABIZLAW. And we're on also Facebook. And my other company is Biztoco, BIZTOCO, and we advise CEOs on how to create profitable companies by focusing on them as a profitable tool. So that's where you can find me. I'm not on Twitter that much. I'm not a great Twitter person. I don't know. I'm not skilled at Twitter, but I do enjoy tweets. So
I think the president has turned me off Twitter. So I hear,
yeah.
I now have a negative relationship with Twitter because every day I turn on the news and I hear the president was just on Twitter, and I'm thinking, what's he doing on Twitter all the time? So,
yeah.
And even if I liked him or didn't like him, it's just a lot of Twitter, a lot of Twitter talk. So, I want to thank you for being on the show. I hope you come back this year and talk with us again as this whole movement continues to evolve.
No, happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. And remind everybody, this is Radio Entrepreneurs, and we will continue with more stories after this break.